don't know about you, but often and when entering discussions with people about like homeschooling, the number one question I get asked is, but what about socialization? Okay. Oh, I get this question like a lot. And I think all of us homeschooling families would be like, yep, I hear it a lot. Everybody is worried about socialization. They're really worried. And, it sort of makes me go, I don't understand why everybody is so worried. I really, really don't. But it always just seems to be like, aren't you worried that your child isn't being socialized? Where to start? Hi, and welcome to Learning Life as, maybe we're entering some little controversial waters today. Isn't that exciting? Look, I honestly don't understand fully why socialization in this day and age is such a controversy. I really don't. Look, homeschooling has grown and grown and grown over the years. So maybe 50 years ago, there were some legitimate concerns, but nowadays, oh my goodness, when we look at how the homeschooling community has grown, why is it still people's first question? Because they seem to equate socialization and school, and they belong together. Well, do they? Do they? Oh my goodness. I've had so many conversations about socialization. And so that's why I wanted to bring this video today, because I really don't get this controversy. Not in 2023. I really don't. And especially coming out of, COVID and all of that. But I love bringing these videos and sort of presenting, even this one's going to have a number of my thoughts in it. And, I have other videos out there as well. And so I would encourage you to watch them. But thank you so much for watching today, for your likes and your subscribes, and for your comments, for being part of this learning life. If you are worried about your child, and socialization, stick around, because I do want to talk about some things that we can do to make sure that our children are being socialized if we are homeschooled. Why is socialization important? Okay, is there anybody out there that thinks that socialization is not important? I don't think that there is. I think we all go, you know what? It is important for our child. And it is because they are building the skills that we need for later in life. Social skills, speaking skills, empathy, teamwork, negotiation, all of these different things. Socialization is important for that. But, we've sort of made it this huge, big thing that just is tied in when we're yeah, let's just accept that it is really good. And we do need to have it. And I think all of us go, yes, I want my child to be developing these skills. I want them to have these social opportunities. Number one factor in socialization. Are you ready? It's the family. That's right. It's not school. It's not anything else but the family. This is actually where children, first of all, are introduced really to language and seeing how, family members interact with each other, developing all of these different skills. If it wasn't for family, most of our children really aren't getting that good, solid foundation. So why are we equating socialization and school when the number one factor is the family? What happens if a child does not get appropriate socialization? Okay, it's a good question. And it's a sad answer. For children that aren't getting these opportunities to be meeting with friends and making friends and talking with family members and other adults and people out and about, well, it really does affect the good things, those social skills and all that is built up in that. But it can also affect their mental health and their physical health later in life. That is heartbreaking. I know I don't want that for my girls. I want them to have these rich experiences with others. And so as we look and understand that, yes, it's important, we have to go, okay, if it's not happening, what could this do for my child? And is it worth, really making sure that they get it? 100%. Absolutely yes. How much socialization happens in school? This is a valid question. It's actually one that I've been asked a few times. Like, what do you think? Like, how much socialization happens in schools? You were in the classroom. Like, what happens? And I've spoken like with a number of teacher friends, and I've seen some very interesting posts on social media, and I wish I'd saved some of them, coming from school counselors and other teachers and going, you know what? The amount of socialization that people think is happening in school, which is why we've equated school and socialization, isn't really happening. Okay. That, children do have like all the schoolwork. We're at our desks, recess is getting, shorter. We're not having as many sort of free opportunities to really be developing these skills. Now, group work is great, and that is a form of socialization, but it is for a purpose of getting that schoolwork done. And yes, you learn a little bit about each other, but to me, that's not true like socialization. Now, there are parents, of course, on both sides. There are parents that think that there are some concerns about it happening like in schools, and some of them are legitimate. And there are actually parents who don't really want to have socialization in schools. It's going to happen, okay? It's going to happen. But, some valid points, but they also think that school should just be about academics. They're worried that it might involve like culture that the parents don't like, or there's, and this one's true, like when we're in our age groups, there's limited like other age group connection. Because we stay in our class and we stay in our grade, we're not necessarily interacting with older kids or younger, or a variety of adults. It could be too distracting. Yeah, I was a talker in class. I was distracting. Bullying has become a problem. Racial prejudice, not including kids with disabilities. Those ones can be valid, as to concerns as to socialization in schools. But then there's some really good reasons too. You are going to learn about other cultures and that people are different. They do things differently. Family life could be different. They come from another culture. There's diversity, which is great. That children are learning some of these different skills like problem solving and self-control, always a good one. And that, you are going to learn how to include, like opportunities for inclusion are great. So there are good sides and bad sides perhaps to socialization in school, but I think that we can sort of be saying that how much is happening is not as much as people actually think is happening in school because of the focus on academics, which is why we do go to school. So we sort of maybe have to move away from this concern that homeschoolers are not getting socialized and to perhaps even start thinking about how much is happening in schools. Why is socialization controversial? I don't get it. I really don't. Look, okay, I get it that there have been some extreme cases that we look at it and go, but they're the ones that people want to point out. You see them, those children, they weren't socialized, and look at that. But guess what? That is not the majority, okay? When we come to topics like this, it is so easy to find the information that supports our opinion or our bias. That is just the truth. I actually had fun. Like I thought, I want to see, why homeschooling is bad for socialization. Whoa, there was a lot of information out there. And then you can look at like how socialization and homeschooling is good. You look at both sides. I found information like for both sides. It was really, really interesting in looking at it. Yeah, I looked at it because I find that fun. But I'm like, oh my goodness. This side was so strong. I'm like, you know what? There's studies that says, that children are only getting the viewpoint of their parents, and that's limiting them as they are adults and in their future life. And then over here, that it's a myth that homeschoolers are lacking in social skills because, studies show that they're actually doing better academically and socially. Okay, there's studies on both sides. Okay, and then this side is saying, you're not prepared for the real world because you've only had this. And this side is actually doing better. Okay? And of course, we have extremes in these voices. Of course we do. And, different people homeschool like for different reasons. And some of them, yes, is because they do want to shelter their children and they do want to keep them. Okay, that's up to them. Okay, but they're not the majority. The majority of homeschoolers are like, we want to give our children rich experiences and we want to be doing this, we want to be doing that. And they're doing a great job. okay? And making sure that their children are getting out there and meeting other people. And we're not, just because we're homeschooling, we're not all just staying at home and not meeting anybody else, okay? Now, it is true. I have seen, I met this homeschooling family, and it broke my heart that their children were not allowed to associate or talk to or spend time with other children. They were only allowed to be with adults because their parents wanted them to make sure that they would become strong adults. Oh, children need to play. They need their peers. They need to grow and to develop. And it was everything within me to not sort of tell them off. Like, it was really hard. And this was even before I had my own children. This is a number of years ago. So yes, like, we have that. But guess what? I've had kids in my classes who were really socially awkward. And no matter how many opportunities you gave them for socialization, like to be there with friends and to really encourage that, they just struggled. So, like, I've seen it like on both sides. So we really just have to look at it and go, it shouldn't be controversial, but we should be discussing it. And we should be looking and making sure that our children are making friends and are developing these skills and are having these opportunities. How can homeschoolers socialize? Wow, I'm going to give you a list because it's actually really quite easy. And because we have that flexibility of homeschooling, we can make sure that our children get out there. I know, for me, and my girls, we do make sure that we connect with people. And sometimes I laugh because my girls feel like little old ladies where they come up, so how are you going? Oh, that's so nice. Oh, that's good. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then they're rough and tumble with their friends and then speak appropriate 8-year-old language. They're not these little old ladies, they're 8-year-olds. But you know what? I do make sure that we have these opportunities. So here are ways that we can do it. Homeschool co-ops. We've talked about that before. They're such an excellent way to really connect with like-minded people. There's community groups such as Scouts and all of that. You can do clubs or classes. There's 4-H, there's YMCA, your local recreation center. You can have sport, recreation sport, team sports, dance classes, all of these things. Do field trips with other families, get out there, play dates. For older children, they could have part-time jobs. There's church or religious groups or cultural groups that you could go to. If you live in a safe area and there's lots of kids in your area, let your children free range for a little bit. I love with the number of families that we have in our neighborhood, how many of the children do get together to play. These are socialization opportunities. And as homeschoolers, we have the time and the flexibility to be able to do that. Our kids aren't sitting in school for longer hours and then coming home and having to do homework with limited opportunities to be doing all of these other things. So I personally don't think that we should be so worried about homeschoolers and socialization. I think our concern should be that all children get it. We went through COVID and, children suddenly being at home and not being at school and worried about depression and isolation. Very, very valid. We should keep those conversations going. We really should. Making sure that our children are connecting, whether at school or whether at play dates, whatever it is, because it shouldn't be controversial, but it should be a discussion that we are having. And we should all be providing opportunities for our children to be growing in this, to be making friends, to becoming well-rounded, beautiful adults that we know that they are going to be. And thank you so much for watching and for being part of this learning life. Hey, I'd love to reach out and just sit and chat with some of you. The discussions that we could have on these controversial things. Well, I am so appreciative of your time. And if you like these videos and you want to help get them out there, you can do that. You can do that by becoming a champion. And you can check that out at patreon.com or through my website, learningthis.life.